You're listening to the Recovered Life Show, the show that helps people in recovery live their best recovered lives. And here is your host, Damon Frank.
And welcome back to the Recovered Life Show. So great to be with you here today. I am so excited because I have been trying to get this guest on forever. He's probably one of the people who has influenced me, the top 10 who have influenced the Damon in his recovery. And she's going to talk with us today about health, sobriety, staying sober, and what you eat. I am so thrilled to invite my friend to the stage, Christie Dames. How you doing, Christie?
Hey, I'm great. How are you doing?
I am doing so great. I'm thrilled that you're here. I know we had some scheduling issues. I wanted to do it at the end of 2024, but we've got you now. You're a jet setter. You're doing the thing. And I wanted to talk with you today. You know, you're my go-to when we're talking about nutrition and wellness and mental health and recovery. And I know your background. You have been sober for what? Is it now almost 38 years?
Almost in June. Yeah.
Crazy. And you know, I've known you almost 32 years of that. So, you know, I've seen you and your knowledge about nutrition and about what you eat, and the whole wellness and mental health thing just flourish. So I'm so glad to have you on, and I want to dive in and really get into this topic of staying sober and what you eat. Do you want to tell us a little bit of background about how you got into this whole thing?
Oh, yeah. Geez. You know, I'll be sober 38 years in June. And, you know, one of the big things that happens when you get sober, the very first thing you do, if you're going to AA meetings, you're going to have coffee, then you're going to have bread and cookies and all kinds of refined carbohydrates. You're just going to douse yourself with that, right? Well, you're already trying to deal with sugar. And so it took me a long time to understand the sugar connection for myself and to see how that was playing out, and then realize, whoa, you know, it's kind of like I was a sugar addict first, and that was self-medication right there. And then it transformed into other things, alcohol, whatever, right? So it took some time. You don't see it right up front. I didn't see it right up front, but I really noticed it when I'm working really hard at my emotional health, and yet, you know, there are blocks. What is it? And that led me to food.
You know, it's not uncommon for people to have emotional up and downs in early recovery, right? Like that's kind of part of isn't that kind of part of the deal? But the nutrition, I believe, as the years have gone on and been sober, I'm in agreement with you. I think it plays a much bigger role than we actually give it credit for. You talk about the whole culture of the 12-step thing, the 15 jelly donuts. I call it stuck in the church basement. You know what I'm talking about, Chris? Like sober as a church mouse, but on 85 cups of coffee, you know, the artificial creamer, the jelly donuts, the really bad junk food, but sober, but miserable.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, yeah.
And that's a real thing.
Oh, it's totally a real thing. And, you know, I think about people getting sober. Okay, great. But staying sober in those early days, months, and years. And if you're just carbo loading all the time, you're creating blocks within the system for your own brain health. And therein lies and, you know, we're operating still today, but all the new data is out. But we've been operating on data that says, oh, yeah, I have all these grains. Oh, yeah, I have a whole grain, have the right. But those things are not contributing and helping with metabolic health. And metabolic health goes right to the brain. So, you know, I knew about 20 years ago, feed the brain, but I didn't know how. Then it was like, feed your mitochondria. Well, what is that? Well, that's the little engine inside of every single cell that gives you life force, right? That's your life force everywhere. But when those things are blocked, and if you keep blocking them, I always say life is an access problem. Right? That's what it is. And so if I'm sober and I want to access my highest self or source or whatever that is for someone, then I've got to remove those blocks. And food can be the biggest block of all.
And I think food, and especially sugar, and I want to talk with you about this right now, because on the live streams on TikTok, Christy, it's nonstop talking about sugar. And in early recovery, it was always told, and look, everybody's different and we're not diagnosing anybody, and everybody has their own doctor's thing, right? But we're just talking from our experience. Sugar did give me a relief, but at some point in recovery, it turned on me, just like alcohol did.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And sugar is so, the body operates in two ways. You either get energy and fuel from sugar, glucose, or you get energy from fats. That's the two ways. Protein is different. It's in the middle. It's something else. But sugar or fat, glucose, fat, that's going to give you the life force. And there's a lot of work right now. There's some amazing people that are researchers. Metobalic Mind. I always tell people, go to Metobalic Mind and look at what they're doing there. And so quickly, Metobalic Mind there was the son of the founder. He had like a break. He's in college. He had a break. He became bipolar, like suddenly out of nowhere. And he ended up being homeless on the streets in Los Angeles. And his mother tricked him into actually eating another way. Like they had to work really hard to get him back up. They live in the Bay Area, and his story is fabulous. But at the end of the day, he was bipolar, just medications, nothing was working, everything was bad. She literally got him on a ketogenic diet, which has huge roots in history from way, way back. For epilepsy, it's a game changer. It can stop epileptic seizures, period, end of story. And so this kid ended up doing the ketogenic diet. Well, boom, he's totally well, healthy, healed, no bipolar, no nothing. He's not on any spectrum of anything. He's just a regular guy.
And I want to dive into a little bit about the mental health, because I believe one of the things that changed when I met you 32 years ago, mental health was something that people were talking about in recovery, but they didn't look at sobriety as a mental health issue. They didn't look at recovery. Really, now it's one thing. And I think this is great because so many people come in with co-occurring disorders, depression, anxiety. We're talking about bipolar, BPD, depression, all this stuff, right? And they're not only dealing, Christy, with getting and trying to stay sober, they're getting with other mental health issues. And so much of this, I'm finding, is wrapped around what we're actually eating and consuming. Yeah. And I don't know about you, I have seen people who are doing the work, and out of nowhere, their carb and sugar intake is like off the charts. And out of nowhere, they'll make weird decisions.
Yes.
And I'm like, it's not that they weren't doing the work. It really shouldn't have happened that way. But it's like they were drugged again through what they were, the fifth big gulp at 11 o'clock, right? And I watched these guys at this treatment thing that I would show up at every Sunday, and they would literally go out spontaneously. And I thought there's got to be a link here to that sugar and carb intake and really crap they're eating. It's not even really food, and their ability to make good decisions. Can you talk a little bit about that? Because that is really how we feel, because we're sober now. We're like, we should feel better than we're feeling.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And that ability to be able to make a correct decision, to be able to think things through instead of having something in the way that's hijacking our emotional health, right? So there's all the different emotions. There's anger, there's rage, there's happiness, giddiness. There's all these different things you can be feeling. And at the end of the day, any one of those things can take us over. And food can be, food is sometimes we need comfort. Okay. I want comfort food. Well, what is that? For me, it used to be like a muffin or a cookie or a cake. And that's what I would eat to just literally not feel. And, the whole point in having mental and emotional and spiritual clarity in life was to not have these blockages. And sugar is that one thing, and many things. So sugar, we're looking at carbs, and this is where it got so confusing for me. Carbohydrates, what are you talking about? We're talking about all carbs. So when you talk about sugar, people think, oh, just white cane sugar. No, sugar, honey, molasses, all those kinds of things. Then you have the pretend sugars like xylitol and erythritol, and those can pose a whole other issue in and of themselves. That can be a problem. But then you have other things like monk fruit and stevia. They don't cause that rise. But so you think if you're using all these things and you're getting a spike in your blood sugar, then all of a sudden you can actually react differently to things. There are two people that I love. Chris Palmer, he's at Harvard. Love this guy. He wrote a book called Brain Energy, and he's looking all at addiction, what happens in the brain, what happens in the body. Basically, it always comes back to a metabolic issue. Metabolism, how does your body run? Another woman, Dr. Georgia Ede, EDE, and both of them have beautiful books out. A lot of them, they're all dealing with mental health issues. And part of the challenge today is we all get labeled with a name, right? We all get labeled with you're a bipolar, you're schizophrenic, you have all these disorders. But at the end of the day, back it out. It's all the same thing.
Yes.
It's metabolic issues. How's your body operating? And then how am I going to be happy being a sober person, right? And those two things are intimately linked.
We talk a lot, and I'm so glad that you brought that up. We talk a lot on the Recovered Life show about being awake, aware, and alive. Like one thing that you get is when you get sober, you're awake, aware, and you're alive. But being awake, aware, and alive all the time can be painful. And you talked about this experience with this muffin. And I'm sorry, I got to go back to the muffin because I was picturing, is it a blueberry muffin? Is it a poppy seed? Right. And I remember it was much later in my sobriety. I had decades at this point, and I had to stop sugar because I've had some health issues, and sugar was my first addiction. Well, actually my second. It was escapism, sugar, and then alcohol, right? And I share that a lot. And I think it's important that it's kind of in that order for me, because escapism was the first, and then sugar allowed me to escape more. And then alcohol allowed me to escape even further, right? And this whole idea of it being a comfort food and it having a reaction. I remember when I had to give sugar up for a period of time, I had an experience where I was in the kitchen and I'd been off sugar for a while, and I realized, oh my gosh, I'm not anxious. I can think clearly. And I have had my battle with anxiety. You've been on the other side of that helping me. And literally, Christie, I said to myself, I was like, something's wrong here, because I didn't have the anxiety. And I thought, no, sugar has been trapped. It's been an illusion, just like alcohol. It was keeping me out of the here and now. Can you talk a little bit about that? Because I think this is mysterious. How do we get into the here and now in recovery? Because we know that's where the consciousness is.
Right.
Is sugar and eating crap really just keeping us out of that?
For me, I absolutely believe that to be true. Sugar is very, very powerful. And, at a certain point in my life, I said, wait a minute. Everybody's looking at using the word mental. Well, I don't like the word mental. I don't think we have mental problems. I think we have physical issues happening that lead to emotional connections, misdirections, outbursts, whatever that is, right? And you can call it mental, but that's just slapping a title on. We're looking at the physical body, how it operates, what it needs to operate, what's your operating system, and everybody's is different, right? Everybody's is different. And so some may need a certain amount of fat, and like a lot of fat, and others need just a little bit of carb. Mm-hmm. So But those things can then block, I believe, in my own experience and others I've seen, that it can block things, but it can also trigger things. And if you have traumas in your background at all, we all do. If you have any kind of trauma related anything, say you self-medicated as a kid with cookies and cakes, or you were given sugar all the time, or you were given lots of sugar, you had lots of dental issues, and you had all the dental trauma. Like, you have all these different things that contribute, right? And that sugar, that food it seems like it's going to help at the moment, but what it does is it can trigger a whole cascade of other things. And we think it's the thing happening, or we think it's the moment, or we think, oh no, I'm not doing enough in my sobriety. Oh no, I'm a loser. Oh no, I can't navigate. None of that's true. The truth is, in the moment, what are the things happening? What are the triggers? And here's another piece that's really key. What you ate 4 days ago can be happening today. So that's the key. We always think, oh, it's what I ate in the moment, or what I had this morning. I mean, dairy takes forever to leave the system, right? Wheat and gluten takes forever. So, and dairy looks like an opioid, the way that it affects the body. So that's going to affect the mind. That's going to affect a decision, a reaction, and boom, I'm off to the races.
I love how you've tied all this together. When we come back after this quick break, we're going to go a little deeper on this, Christie. We're going to talk a little bit about how to get that opening, because for me, I we talk in recovery, like, maybe I'm not my thoughts. Maybe I don't have to drink. There's like a little thing that I could hold on to. And I want to find out, how do you do this? Because I found this harder to clean up my diet than really getting sober, harder to stay on it. So I want to share that, because this is the audience that wants to hear it. We're going to be back after this quick break.
Recovery isn't just a journey, it's a lifestyle. And now, you can wear your recovery with pride. The Recovered Life Shop is live, packed with merch designed just for people in recovery. Whether it's a hoodie to keep you warm, a mug to start your day right, or a statement tee that lets the world know you're living your best recovered life. Need a little humor in your recovery? Grab the Resentment Some Assembly Required t-shirt. It's a classic. Ready to take massive action? Start your day with the Massive Action coffee mug. Or keep it simple and spiritual with the Chopwood Fetch Water Trucker hat. Every piece is designed to inspire, start conversations, and keep you connected to your recovery journey. And the best part? Every purchase supports great content like this and spreads the recovery message. So, go to recoveredlife.tv and click on the Shop tab now.
Step out of the shadows into the light. Find your tomorrow, start the fight. Recovered Life TV, see the change. Living your best life. It's within reach. Visit recoveredlife.tv today.
You're listening to The Recovered Life Show, the show that helps people in recovery live their best recovered lives.
And we're back with my buddy Christie Dames. We are diving into it today, guys. We're getting deep about a topic that a lot of people don't want to tread down this path. I'm going to be honest with you. We're talking about staying sober and what you eat. We know now it has a big impact. And thank you, Christie, for coming and sharing your experience with us and your knowledge with us. And, we're just going to say we might be talking about different diets, different co-occurring disorders. That's between you and your doctor. This is really just meant to be an educational thing to kind of turn people onto the idea of it. So we're going to dive into real deep now here, because I found it hard to find the opening, Christie. I couldn't find, how do I stop eating sugar? Because you're talking 4 days. You're saying 4 days with this. How do you start this process? If this is something you want to do, how do you do it?
Here's what I learned over all the years is this. When you start to understand that all the foods that turn to sugar, right? So carbohydrates turn to sugar. So the first piece is back out of junk food. Just back out of junk food. And that's step one. Stop having, fast food. Stop having things with multiple things in them. Just if you can stop that part. The other side of that is to eat cleaner food. So anything with less ingredients in it is going to be better, because ultimately you want to get to whole foods, right? You want to get to, and I don't mean the store, I mean to a whole food. You want to get to eating. If you're a carnivore, you're going to want to have a piece of animal protein. You're going to want to have really good fats. You're going to want to have very little amounts of carbohydrates. You're going to want to pay attention to any kind of starchy item too. And this was big for me because I could see sugar. Okay, fine. I could back out of that. But starch was my go-to. If, give me a piece of cake or, oh my gosh, I'll be in the corner. Like, let me just go ahead and don't come near me. Don't want it. Don't take any of my cake. Right.
Well, if you can put the sugar and the starch together, then now you've got a magic combination.
Yes, exactly. So, basically you really want to, you don't want to do everything like right away either. I do though. I mean, for me, I'm like, oh, okay, I'm just going to stop because I know something. And for some people that works perfectly. Other people, you've got to transition into things, and other people somewhere in the middle. It's all about experimentation, but it's about seeing the trigger, seeing, and then trying things. But again, the first piece is back out of the junk food, back out of stuff that's got lots of chemicals in it. Start to be a label reader. Just get an idea of that. The more whole foods you can eat, like a potato, asparagus, green beans, tomato, a steak, whatever that, sunflower seeds, pumpkin seeds, right? The more you can eat a thing, the better you're going to be.
Absolutely. I want to talk about this all or nothing mentality, because I know this is what I thought, and I did the show and we've got the Recovered Life community just because I had so many questions about how to live your best recovered life. Right. And for me now, nutrition has become one of the key components to living my best recovery. It really is. It is the game changer for me. Now, a lot of people ask, and this is my question too, is this an all or nothing? If I give up sugar, can I have sugar a little bit for a birthday or for whatever? Is this like alcohol or drugs where, look, I can't drink one drink, right, without the phenomenon. Is it really that hardcore, or can you live your life a little bit? Because I think people in recovery think like me. I'm like, what more do I have to give, Christy? I've given rid of everything.
I get rid of everything. I have nothing. Yeah. Well, it depends on you, right? So for me, I cannot have a little piece of cake. Forget it. It's over. And because it's kind of like the first drink, right? The first drink may be all right. And then the second, and then you don't really see it coming. It's a train. You don't see it coming, but it's coming. Same thing can happen with sugar. That the first little bite, well, seems okay. I'm all right. But over time, how that can build starts to create that dependence again and that wanting to have it. And for all kinds of conditions, we're not just people who have an addiction, alcohol, a drug, whatever that is, pharmaceutical, whatever that is. We are people that we come in with a past. We come in with issues, things we grew up with. We come in with toxins in our bodies. One of the things I learned recently from a doctor in Arkansas, actually, who fabulous at a medical conference, and she's talking about fentanyl. And she said, okay, fentanyl, pretty toxic. One time having fentanyl may not do anything. What time is it the second, the third, the fifth? When is fentanyl going to take you out? Well, the reason why it may not the first time is because it's stored in the fat in the body. So now it's stored in there. Well, you get fentanyl like the second, third, fourth time, all of a sudden it explodes, boom, you're gone. So you don't see that coming, right? You don't see it coming. So it's all about tolerance, what we have going on, what our metabolic state is at the time. And that is so key. That is so key.
I love how you're saying that, because now this is stuff new. And it's funny because a lot of big 12-step hardcore people say, wow, if it's not in the book, if it's on this, it doesn't really relate to our sobriety. But I find it's an overall wellness in our life. And that's really, I think, the new rebirth of recovery here. And what we're trying to do here is let's look at our whole life. Like, if you need therapy, go to therapy. If you need, if you have a co-occurring disorder, you can deal with that. And you're still sober, you're still doing it. Right.
Right.
I gotta share this experience with you, because I was asking about this black and white thinking, which we're prone to anyway, as people in recovery. But for Valentine's Day, we got a bunch of little pieces of cake, and I've shared with you, I'm more on this, I'm moving into the ketogenic. And when this airs, I will be on pretty much all of the ketogenic kind of Mediterranean thing. And so we had some cake, and the first night was fine. And I ate it in the afternoons for my blood sugar to make sure it was good, but it dropped my blood sugar. I almost passed out. When I ate it, it was so sickeningly sweet that I was like, this isn't even this tastes like poison now.
Yeah.
It was very weird.
Yes.
But here's the thing, the next day, because we got these little pieces of cake, I thought, well, you know what would be good? And I was having a great day. I was thinking, what would be better than perfect right here, right now, is to make it more perfect with a half a piece of this cake. Right. And I was like, this is insanity. Why am I doing this? This literally, I almost passed out because I ate this. Like, why am I doing this? And I was like, wow, this is such a metabolic addiction, if that's even the right thing for it. Right. But realizing that it really kind of tastes like poison. I know it sounds weird, but what I'm saying? Like, you taste it's like, whoa,
it changes.
This is off the chart.
It changes, and it changes really fast. So for instance, with alcohol, when you stop drinking alcohol, your body changes right away. If you pick it up again in, say, a week, a month, 6 months, a year, your body has changed. Every time you pick it up again, you are now re-traumatized. It's like having a mini traumatic brain injury. That's what's happening every time we go back. Right. And so I kind of think about it the same way with sugar, because when you stop eating a carb, you stop eating breads and the refined carbohydrates, you literally change very rapidly. And so when you start to eat those things again, they taste really strong. But isn't it funny how very quickly that changes? And then you're like, oh, wow. Well, now it just kind of tastes normal again. So for me, I see that is an injury again. It's a metabolic.
Yes, I didn't even look at it like that. Didn't even look at it like that. And it is like when people stop drinking, they go out after 20 years, they get back on the train where they left off, and it just gets worse.
Yes. Yeah. And I think that's part of why that happens. It's you've changed on so many levels. But that injury will come back. There's a gentleman here that we're friends with, and he's been sober a little while now. He's a beautiful man, married, 2 kids, right? And helps tons of people, has a really solid sobriety. And, but he went to the doctor, and he had these like outrageous blood sugar, insulin readings. And insulin's important to understand, not just your blood sugar, but what's your insulin reading, right? What's going on there? And so he went, and they're like, well, you're going to probably have to be on medication, right? So he left, we put a whole plan together. He did that plan. He got off all the refined carbs. He got off most of the carbs, started eating all the really good, healthy fats, good protein. Holy cow. He went back to the doctor. numbers are all normalized. The doctor was like, well, what's going on here? He goes, well, you're actually really fine now. You do not have type 2 diabetes anymore. And he's just like, whoa, woohoo. And he's doing it, right? And he feels so empowered as well. So now he had a diagnosis that he doesn't have anymore. He's empowered because he did it himself, didn't take any medications, and he's doing it. He feels great. He can do he thinks better. His emotions are stable and numbers are corrected. Like, wow, how can that be? And that's, a key part here, Damon. And I think people don't look at ketogenic. We've been trained to think, oh, be very afraid of fats. No, don't be afraid of fats. Be very afraid of not being, and by the way, there are people that are carnivore keto people. There are people that are vegan keto people. So you do not have to accept one or the other.
I love that.
You can find your way, because the point is to operate from fats. Your brain needs fat, needs cholesterol. We've been told, oh, cholesterol bad. Oh, nothing could be further from the truth. And we need cholesterol. It is critical for.
Yeah. And, and there's different people on the spectrum. If you have heart disorders and things, that obviously check your doctor, right? Like, you got to do, but find somebody. There are different doctors too. And this is a thing that I really like. I found one who was like, well, your cholesterol isn't really high. It's really converting. You don't really have any, like, you're good. Like, and that was not the doctor I had before. So you got to look for a doctor that's going to work. I got to ask you in closing here, because there's people.
But wait, before you do that, I got to say one thing. Oh, please. Everybody should go look for the website. And there's a film. We saw the premiere of it. I'm not sure if it's out yet, called The Cholesterol Code. And this is a guy who has spent 10 years. I mean, the data we have that this man, Dave, has done is just incredible. And that links to Metobalic Mind, and that leads to metabolic health and addiction and all the alls, literally. And so the cholesterol code, go check it out. Because when you find out what we now know about cholesterol and what's critical, and it's really important. And he's done a great job. 10 years, this guy's he's an engineer who documented everything in his shift in life for his health. And literally, it's astounding. So
we're going to put a link. We'll find that book and we'll put a link in the show notes on this. Christy, I got to ask, because, from a selfish standpoint here, like when we're thinking about it, we're like, everybody's thinking about this going, okay, well, especially if I give up the junk food and the sugar, what am I really going to get out of this? Right? Like how's this going to improve my life? And I find that a lot of the people that I work with that are stuck, it's maybe not physically staying sober, but it's like they don't have clear enough thinking to really multiply their money situation. They can't really connect with people because they're out of it all the time, right? They're either in their head or don't feel good or don't feel okay in the here and now. And what you're talking about, I think, is such a game changer. How does this, if somebody's listening to this, how has this affected your life? I mean, really in closing, because that's what people are going to want. Like in your journey,
yeah.
How has it been? Because you've been sober long term. This isn't like something you tried for 60 days, right? Like this isn't like sober January for you. You've been doing this a long time.
Yeah.
So how has this changed your life by really looking at what you're eating?
In my life, there were two parts. There's confusion and there's clarity. And all I ever wanted at the end of the day, when I could actually get clear enough to know what I wanted clarity. And anything that stood in my way of experiencing that, I had to contend with. And I had many, many things I had to deal with. in order to step into clarity. You know, I've had a big career. I've worked with majors, from Steve Jobs to you name it, right? Like, I have had direct experience doing that kind of work, and clarity was key. I couldn't operate from a place of confusion. And that for me was the philosopher's stone, right? That's the key. And anything that could stand in my way, food could do that. And you know, we sometimes make things so complex, and many times we're told to make things complex. We get so much information now with, you know, the internet. It's like, oh, okay, what do I do now? I have more than I can handle. But, you know, at the end of the day, every day that you're sober, every day that you make a step in your life, you're going to start to see and know and find that intuitive connection that you didn't have. That's going to open the door to clarity. That's going to open to the door. Well, what's my path? Where do I want to go? And every time we make a decision like that, we open ourselves up to a new set of possibilities. And isn't that the point? You know, the point is, yeah, I don't want to hurt myself. I don't want to hurt others, or, oh, okay, fine. That might be table stakes when we get here, but then we want to have a big life. And that's the point. For me, that is the point.
Absolutely.
And so everything that was in my way, and there was, oh my gosh, I can't tell you and you know the number of boulders I've had to lift, and the small little rocks and stones and everything I had to pull out to find my own way. And at the same time, doing things like with my company for all these years, like, how was it that I found myself working and literally bringing the very first iMac to the world with a small team of people? How, like, Steve comes back to Apple. How did that happen, right? So serendipity happened, amazing things happened, but I never lost my path and my walk, that sobriety led to clarity, could lead to all kinds of things. And it
can. And, you know, and that's why I wanted to do this, you know, Christie, is because I think it is about living our best recovered life. Getting sober is the starting point, and then it's what you do from there that matters. Guys, we're going to leave links to how you can get a hold of Christie. We're going to have you back. Already on the live chats, people are looking forward to seeing this. So I know people are going to want to have you back. And I always love talking with you. Guys, if you're a Recovered Life Plus subscriber, we're going to do an after the show. So hold on, Christie. As we end this, I'd like to thank you, but check out the after the show, because we're going to go even deeper. We're going to talk about actually how you do it, what she's doing, all that stuff. So think about becoming a Recovered Life Plus subscriber. Christie, thanks so much for coming on today.
Thank you so much, Damon. Always
Bye.
Great.
Hey, if you like this episode, think about supporting us by becoming a Recovered Life Plus member. At Recovered Life TV, we're not just delivering premium recovery resources, we're empowering you with the knowledge and tools that make a real difference in the quality of your recovery. By subscribing, you gain access to ad-free content, expert insights, exclusive video and audio segments, special projects, plus so much more, all while supporting our mission to spread the recovery message far and wide. Whether you're seeking to deepen your understanding or stay updated on the latest addiction and mental health recovery trends, Recovered Life Plus is for you. Subscribe now and start living your best recovered life. Just go to recoveredlife.tv and become a Plus member today.